Again, this was conceived as a celebration of Harry Belafonte's upcoming birthday on the 1st of March. He'll be 90 years old. And while he's not here tonight, I said, who is a mutual friend and admirer of Harry Belafonte? So somebody I'm very pleased and honored to call my friend, I called him up. He said, sure. So I want to bring to the stage a person who's always outnumbered, but intellectually never outgunned, Walter Mosley. Can we start by jogging a memory? There was I can't tell you what year it was, but there was, I think, a pre-Christmas party at Harry's house. And as I recall, you and I were the youngest people in the room. Because in the room was, sitting here, was Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. Sitting there was Catherine Dunham, who's my personal mentor. Actually, Catherine Dunham got me a scholarship to pay for my education.
School?
College. See, he's into improvisation. Next time at Wilbur, the Wilbur. And then we had Ron Carter was in the room, Eli Wallach was in the room. It was the most amazing room. Is it coming back to you?
No, I remember being there. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was nice. It was nice. Harry had those parties at Christmas. You know, he had that building. You know, Harry was gonna want to get an apartment in this building. It was on the 72nd, and it wasn't in
Western Avenue.
And yeah, and it was in the 40s, late 40s, and they wouldn't rent to him because his wife was white, so he bought the building, and he made it the first, you know, condo. Not condo, the co-op in New York. Like, so he bought the building, and then he got all of his friends to come in and buy, you know, at a lower price, everything. He owned the whole building. It was amazing. It's like, what, 23 stories or something like that? And he had the top two apartments. There were two apartments on each floor, and he had the top two. And that's where he had his parties.
And whenever Dr. King was in New York, he gave Dr. King the other apartment. So it was like the headquarters for intelligentsia as well as activism. Which is, I comment on who he is, an artist and activist.
Yeah, no, he told me a story once that he was sitting there with Martin, and they were like talking, you know, but like it wasn't that high in tenor of talk. It was just like guys talking, and King was looking down. And he said, you know, Harry, I think we might be integrating into a burning house. Mm-hmm. And Harry was like, you know. I mean, Harry had made the mistake of thinking that he wasn't as influential on Martin as Martin was on him. I think they both might have made that mistake. But Harry said, well, you know, what should we do? He says, I think we're going to have to become firemen. I just thought that was one of his wonderful stories.
You know, one of the other experiences I had with Harry that was, you probably had it before me. He took me to Cuba. And it was why he said, well, listen, we're going to go. And at customs, you know, you can get the option stamp or not stamp. You know, I said, okay, don't stamp. You know, which is silly because obviously everybody sees me coming in. And when we got there, I mean, I know he was tight with Fidel, but he's tight with Fidel.
Yeah.
And so they said, okay, now, so I figured we go hotel in the mall. They gave us a villa. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really got a chance to meet the man, to know Harry, because for 10 days, we were in the same space with the rest of his family and talking and talking and talking. And it was such, to be able to access an imagination, both artistically and politically, that goes back so much earlier than me, and how he processed information. And was like, I'm curious, in your conversations, both in terms of artistry and activism, what kind of exchange, how did it change your thinking, or did it change your thinking in any way?
I don't know, actually. You know, I'm not so, you know, introspective. You know, it's like I don't really think like, did I change? You know, okay. You know, but I'm gonna take that in a different direction, because you know the thing is you know, Harry and I always had a lot of fun partially because I made fun of him, which was so unusual. You know, we like I would just, you know, like I was introducing him one day, and Quincy Troop was it was going to be UMass Akela and Quincy and talking, and then Quincy Troop was going to be the moderator, and I said, and I was for some reason introducing the three of them. It was like overkill, right? And but I said, you know, you may wonder why like Harry Belafonte needs a moderator, and that's because he's such an exaggerator that he needs somebody to hold him back. And Harry really he ended up liking that. But the thing the thing that kind of that I found so wonderful, I mean, he's such he is such an amazing, enigmatic, and charismatic character that, like one day we were both flying from LA to New York. We didn't know we were like, but we ended up on the plane. We sat together and we're talking. Yeah, we talked all the way over, and we got off the plane. And a young woman comes up to me and she says, "Mr. Mosley, I'm here with your car. I'm going to put you in your car. And you're going to take you home." And I went, "Great." And Harry said, "Well, where's my car?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know, sir. Sir, I don't know where your car is." And so, a young black woman, Jamaican woman, and young though, and she's talking to him, and he's talking to her, and he's really talking to her, and I'm standing there waiting for my car, you know, like. And then
I see where this is going.
I turned around, and Harry was getting into my car, and I went, "Oh," and she said, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Mosley, I have another car coming for you right away." And I said, "So you must really like Harry Belafonte, huh?" She goes, "Was that his name?" But he's so wonderful. He doesn't have to be Harry Belafonte for you to be impressed. A lot of people, you know, you have to be that person for somebody to be impressed with you, otherwise they're not. But Harry was like, he was just so, like, you know, I'm saying he is, just so magnetic and so powerful, you know. I really, just like a year ago, I was sitting outside with him somewhere, and like, you know, up in the 70s, and people were stopping. "Mr. Belafonte? I mean, really, you know, he's like 90, but like it doesn't make any difference. Everybody knows, everybody remembers. It's amazing.
And what also strikes me, I've seen similarly him modulate that charisma. I've seen him sit there and like turn the volume slightly, and women 8 to 8 just lose their mind. And I can see him dial it in, dial it out, and to be self-aware of that power, but not abuse it. You know, not to be, you know, arrogant with it. It just, you know,
Well, I just want to say, you know, that's one I say, it's not just women, it's men too, and maybe he did abuse it now and again, but, you know, can't help it.
Hey.
You know, you that guy for like, you know, 70 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's I mean, it's really, I mean, it's tangible. I mean, you can like, I for fun, would sometimes sit back and watch the women walk in the room and just watch them react.
yeah, well, no, it's Harry Belafonte, you know, I mean, so amazing. He's so, I mean, the first person ever to sell 1 million records in Britain, the first single person to sell 1 million records in America, who made a big commitment. And when we watched this piece here, you know, what's so interesting about that, I mean, just people like talking about black skin in 1966 on television. That's like, I mean, really, I didn't see that show when it came out, and I'm amazed now I'm watching it, you know. It's a really hard thing to do, but it wasn't the hardest thing that, I mean, Harry always goes to the place where he's gonna fail. He says, okay, I could do this, now let me try to do that. Okay, I can do that, let me try to do this. Okay, I can do that. And you know, the big thing when he had his variety show, finally they came to him, they said, you know, "Mr. Belafonte, you know, we don't care who you have on your show, but you just got to choose. It's going to be either white people or Mexicans or Asians or black people, but you can't have them all together because people in the South are not going to watch."
Right.
And Harry said, "Well, then they're not going to have a show then, because I'm not just going to do that. I mean, this is okay to do because it's all black people. You can do that kind of everywhere, but you couldn't do what he was doing on his variety show." And he just said, "Okay, I won't do it anymore." Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of like, you know, Richard Pryor comes after him and the same thing. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, I'll have to cancel my show if I can't tell the truth, because the truth is, you know, we all come from the same place."
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
And as I said previously, it was his show, so literally he could walk away with it and retain ownership. And that was, I mean, to this day, I mean, different negotiations I've tried to make, that kind of ownership of the negative, that's really almost impossible to get. So he was so far ahead of his time. In fact, similarly, he had a training program in 1950, whatever, on some production where he had interns in every capacity. And so when I did something similar on my project Boomerang back in '90, I thought I was breaking new ground. I said, no, he did that before you. Salute, okay.
You know, and it's true, because I mean, Harry's very political. I think that when he and Martin met, you know, up at the Abyssinian church, Martin was giving a talk. Harry was in the audience. When it was over, Martin comes up to him and says, you know, brother, could we talk for a few minutes? And they went to a room in the basement. They talked for 4 hours.
Exactly.
And Harry always thought that, well, you know, I was changed, you know, by Martin Luther King. But I was, when I look at it, I was like, well, you know, most people hated Martin, you know. I mean, listen, white and black, they hated Martin, you know, for one reason or another. He couldn't, there were all these places he couldn't cross. And Harry Belafonte, everybody in the world was listening to him. Everybody in the world understood, you know, white people, black people, everybody. And I think that they both saw something in each other that they could trade. On the other hand, you know, just the thing about politics, which I think is so, you know, it's wonderful that when people are political, but I don't know, like, I don't know what you guys feel, but, you know, when, you know, political activists start talking to me, I start hiding, because I know they want me to work 18 hours a day, 8 days a week, you know. I said, well, now listen, now you did the talk, now could you hand out pamphlets? And also, could you, you know, and I'm like, damn, man, you know, I got to make money, I got to get some sleep, you know. So Harry's like invited to go to you know, to sing in Las Vegas in the 50s. Las Vegas, by far the most racist city ever in America. I mean, really, they were so racist that you couldn't even wash dishes unless you were a white person. You couldn't be a maid unless you were a white person. It was amazing. Black people could not go in except to perform on a stage, eat in the kitchen. That was it. And Harry, you know, he got there, he didn't know, he walked in the front door. They stopped him, they said, you can't walk in the front door. And he said, listen, man, if I can't walk in the front door, I sure as fuck can't get on that stage. And they said, well, you know, it's the mob, right? They said, either you get on the stage, you go home in a box, you got a choice. You know, and Harry's, you know, connection, you know, Godfather in New York is Bumpy. And so he calls Bumpy and he said, look, they threatened to kill me, Uncle, Goddad. And so he, who, you know, Bumpy is doing dealings with the mob in Cincinnati, and the mob in Cincinnati says, they call Las Vegas, you know, and say, look, we got serious business in New York. We can't have this business messes with because you don't want somebody walking in the front door. Harry Belafonte is going to walk in the front door and he's going to stay in the hotel and he's going to eat in the restaurant. The thing I love about it is like a moment of, you know, an incredible moment, a political moment of integration. But Harry did it because he said, listen, man, I'm not going to go in the back door. It wasn't because he was being particularly political. He said he wasn't there to try to integrate Las Vegas. But he says, but I am going to go where I want to go in this place. And, you know, that's so, like, you know, it makes it like, so we're human beings doing things rather than, you know, you got to belong to this party, you got to have this card, you got to have this, you know, all these things.
But also he had relationships. I mean, the fact that Bumpy Johnson was related to him.
Yes.
I mean, that was a significant thing. He was not a person who is in some bubble disconnected from the community.
Yeah.
Didn't his mother sell policy?
I don't know.
I think I may have heard that in passing. So he's truly integrated into Harlem, so therefore it all made sense. But that phone call made sense.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, the other people couldn't do that. Sidney Poitier couldn't do that. Sammy Davis Jr. couldn't do that. You know, it was an amazing moment. But I think that, you know, Harry's whole life is, you know, a series of amazing moments. You know. And sometimes, you know, in public he understates it, which is kind of interesting. You know, it's like, well, you know, I just did this. You know, so, well, no, you didn't just do it, man. It was like, this is some hard stuff, you know. And it's like, you know, and you know, it's great, you know. I mean, to know Fidel and to know, you know, Mandela and to, you know, and you know, and to know, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt. You know, I mean, that's all really interesting. But you know, the thing that, you know, that Harry's like a, you know, he's kind of in the street, you know, and even though I think that, you know, you don't usually see it. You know, that I think that his his strong. What makes him so attractive is how accessible he is, really.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But also you see that in his acting roles. I mean, the movie we're going to show after this, he plays a character called Seldom Seen in Kansas City. So he's drawn even the Uptown Saturday Night movies, and even also, not even, but also in Buckley and Preacher. He's drawn to that kind of trickster, roguish figure, as opposed to the Sidney Poitier straight, narrow character.
Well, Sidney tries to do it, but he doesn't quite make it, you know. Like, I mean, because he's just like, but I mean, it's a question of class there. I mean, you know, it's like he belongs to, you know, in like, you know, a certain kind of class, and he finds it hard to leave there. And Harry doesn't, you know. Harry born in Harlem, you know. I mean, and everybody says he's Caribbean. I guess he is, but he was born in Harlem,
That's
so
right.
he could be president if he wanted. We'd be lucky if he had.
You know, one thing that I was so sad about is because people may or may not know how helpful he was to the King family after Martin was assassinated. I mean, he wrote checks and just took care, because that was his brother, you know. So he made sure that, you know, the bills got paid, his kids went to education, and the rest of that. And when Coretta passed away, one of the children, the elder daughter, disinvited him from the Bernice. Disinvited him. And so that was just, you know, and I saw him.
Because George Bush
Exactly.
wanted to be on the stage.
And I made the mistake of, you know, started asking about it, and the look on his face, I immediately shut my mouth and realized, don't open that wound. Here's somebody who paid all your family's bills, you know, took care of you, and now you can't come to the mothers. It's just unbelievable. But he just, you know, swallowed it.
Well, you know, I mean, listen, you know, I mean, Harry has lived a charmed life, you know. I mean, and he's in a kind of a crazily amazing life, you know. Like in the 40s and early 50s, he was in therapy, psychoanalysis, and the psychoanalyst was the wife of his manager, and both of them were working for the FBI. And they were recording, like his like psychoanalytic, you know, 5 days a week, his things, you know. It's just like the amount of things that he's like gone through and experienced and survived, you know. It's just amazing. But I think another thing about this piece here, which I was noticing, I'd never seen it before, you know, Harry is, you know, he's a ham, you know. I mean, he likes people to look at him and think about him and see how beautiful he is and how talented he is and stuff like that. And he just completely stepped back. He said, "Okay, Sidney, this is your thing here. You know, I'm going to introduce it, and then I'm going to sit back." And I just love that about him. You know, I belonged to. He had a political group called The Gathering. It was getting together all these young inner city people of all different races, and bringing them all over the country and showing them what other people were living like. It took this young black man to Appalachia. And the guy said, "Man, if the white people let their people live like this, we ain't never gonna get nowhere." You know, and it's like, and Harry just loved that, you know, because it's the thing is he's always trying to teach. He's always trying to broaden horizons for himself, for other people, you know, and he's always willing to change. At any moment in his life, he's willing to change, which, you know, it's just, I mean, it's so unusual even for young people. But, you know, he's like, you know, he's been doing it forever. He's a good guy. Yeah.
So we have mics from that corner and that corner. So I can do this all night, but we only here to another to 3:15. But I'm gonna be fair and share with you. But if you blink, I will take it off.
Yeah.
The other thing, just in terms of anecdotes, I was talking to Julie Belafonte, second wife, and I said, "Well, how did you guys get together?" So he said, "You're loving this, right?" So she said, "Well, his buddy, Harry's buddy at the time, was Marlon Brando."
Oh, right, yeah.
And so he said, and so she was going out with Marlon Brando. And so Brando said, "You know, hey man, I got all these women, you know, man, can you just, you know, take care of her while I'm doing these other things?" And so Brando, in trusting her with him, big mistake. So, but just that whole world. Harry spoke one day at Time Warner, and some critics said, okay, you were like a big star in his time, and it was you and Randall, and who was the biggest, who the women loved the most? And Harry paused. We all waited to see what he was going to say. He says, Tony Curtis. I just love those moments. Yes, sir, brother.
Congratulations on what you've done. I think this is very powerful. You and I know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I am the product of the intern program that Harry put together on the film was The Angel Levine.
Ah, thank you. That's the one. Yes, sir.
And I am one of maybe a dozen interns who put together a career thanks to the largesse of Mr. Belafonte.
Mm-hmm.
You think you know someone, and then you come across his life story. And if you don't know about this, it is worth searching. It is the most inspiring piece of film that I have seen this year. This was put together by his family. It's called Sing Your Song.
Yes.
And it takes you from the first days of Harry Belafonte to the present.
Yes.
And if you don't weep in this one, you don't feel nothing. When I learned that it is because of Harry Belafonte that, and his relationship to Mboya of Kenya, that educated 85 Kenyan students here in America, full scholarships to various colleges, one of whom was the father of Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That's right. So Harry Belafonte has gifted us with the last 8 years of presidency by his relationship.
That's right.
I thought he was a powerful man. I don't know how he just walks the earth. It's really incredible. 90 years of a black man's life when nobody had planned for it.
That's right.
So this program is a wonderful one. I make witness because he gave me a life
Yes, sir.
and a career.
You know, there's also like a book that goes with that Sing Your Song, you know.
It's a magical piece of work.
His memoir, it's very also wonderful, goes with it.
And he didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Other people did.
Yeah.
His family.
Well, that's often the case with Harry.
Yes, sir.
He was fine the last time I saw him. He was getting the Lion Award at the New York Public Library. You know, I think everything about it. And there was just an interview with him in the Times yesterday or the day before. That's really kind of lovely. Walking is not the easiest thing for him, but like everything else seems.
100%.
Harry, I mean, he might not come here, but he'll go to South Africa tomorrow. So, it's
fundraiser beginning of the year.
Exactly, the one with Democracy Now. And it was great because Harry was sitting on stage at Roadside Church with Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
So like, whoa, and they just did what they do.
I was thinking I was very, very happy when I thought Harry was coming, because I knew if he was here, then I wouldn't have to talk. We did a thing at Quincy Jones's house, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, and there was a guy who was going to interview Harry, and he had like 12 questions. And I said, so you got those 12 questions, huh? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you only need the first one. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, man, this is Harry, And the guy asked a really wonderful, very convoluted question. And Harry started talking. And 45 minutes later, he went, I had no idea what he was talking. I mean, I understood it, but I didn't understand how it really, and then he brought it all back to the question. I went, wow. And then the guy asked the second question, but we didn't have enough time, so.
That's all 100% true. And I wish I had a witness, but it was not big room when I did this. I interviewed him at some festival downtown, and knowing that history, I said, okay, now he's gonna go on autopilot. How can I throw him off? And I think I did. Ask him. At the end, he said, okay. And the twist I did was ask him what you don't get asked. I think it was, as I can recollect, is most people either they buy you off, they scare you off, but the last one, which he says, why ain't you tired? And I think the bad off, answer it. Scare you off, answer it. But why aren't you tired?
Mm-hmm.
That one, he's, oh, okay.
And so he didn't take a long time to answer that question?
Relatively, no. Long time, relatively speaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was more succinct than...
Because I'm always so amazed at, like how much he can talk, and really, but how much he says. I mean, it's not like he's just talking, because there are other people who talk and you're like getting bored, and I'm like, wow, that's so interesting, and he actually interviewed me for a book I was doing, but I didn't have to say anything, because he just talked the whole time. It was great, I mean, the only other person I know who does that, or did that, was Mary Baraka. And he just ask Mary one question. That's it. You could just sit. You could walk off the stage, go somewhere, take a nap, come back. But I once I was a friend of mine. Monte Diawara. Monte Diawara said that Derek Walcott wanted to meet Harry. So Derek Walcott, Nobel laureate, St. Lucia. He's like really serious, right? And so I said, okay, we'll have dinner. And so we did. We're at this restaurant, and we come in. Harry's already there, and the first thing that the poet laureate said to him was, "Deo." I just kind of like, but he turns everybody into children. You can't help it. It's like, this is Harry Belafonte. I'm not going to sit and start talking about iambic pentameter or villanelles. I'm gonna say what I feel. It's like in him. The Deo, I mean, really, that song, changed so much for, everything he did changed so much for everybody, because it was like, wow, he's doing this, Yeah.
Well, and Harry responded with,
oh, he didn't say anything. He just went, oh, yeah, I think he told a long story about how he went to a place where he was performing. He was the star. It was a big thing. But the guy at the front door wouldn't let him in. and so they were playing the music to the place where he was going to come in and start singing, but then he wouldn't come in, so they have to go again. And Harry just sat there, looking at the guy and waited till the woman came out, and then Harry brought the guy in to hear the show. I mean, the twist is Harry brought the guy in to hear the show. But we have a question now.
Oh, very good. Yes.
Hi. My name is Robin Rector, and I'm born in Harlem. I'm Harlemite, and I was a little curious. You said he was born in Harlem. What hospital was he born in?
So what?
What hospital?
I have no idea what hospital he was born in. But that book, the book, it has it there.
Right, because growing up, coming up as a West Indian background, we grew up on his music. All Deo and all that. We sang all of that, danced to it and everything. And I'm just bringing back memories now.
You Jamaican?
No, Barbadian.
Okay.
My grandfather and grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah.
You where the literacy is. I got it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm Drayton Jordan.
Yes, sir.
I first met Harry Belafonte through my father. My father's one of the top 10. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lean closer, brother.
My father was one of the top 10 interior designers in New York City. Back in the days, they had the Black Enterprise magazine. He made that list, and he actually interior designed Harry Belafonte's apartment. I met him when I was about maybe 12 years old at the time. And to this day, this guy is sharp as a nail, and he's witty. And like you said, he talks a lot, but he says something. That's a big difference. What I want to ask you two gentlemen is, can you give me your best personal story about Harry Belafonte you guys might want to share with us that a lot of us don't know about? And he's not here to kind of represent himself, but take it easy on him. Just give us a good story you guys know personally about him. Thank you.
Will you be first, sir?
All speak at once. I trip you up there, Warrington?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
know I
sir. This is oblique. Okay, so this is it's about him because I was in a situation because of him. So we're in Cuba, and so for some reason everybody left the house but me. Phone rang, so I feel okay. Let me answer the phone. So I answered the phone and said, it was a call from the Cuban government. I said, oh, Mr. Belafonte, he's not here, but he'll be back. He says, yeah, but no, I'm not calling to speak to him. I'm calling to speak to me. You want to help me? I said, yeah, I want to. He said, are you with the Black Filmmaker Foundation? I said, yeah. Do you organize black filmmakers and black film? I said, yeah. Okay. Fidel told me, he's the head of information, culture, something, I forget the title, in Cuba. He told me, Belafonte said who you were and to call you because Fidel says the problem with television in Cuba is too many white faces. And I'm calling you because you work with black American filmmakers. We need your help to change that. Now, I've been working in film all these years. NBC ain't never called me. HBO, well, maybe they have, but that call would never happen in America. And Belafonte set that thing in motion. So that was a personal experience and revelation that just blew me away. Your turn.
You're so nice.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, I love Harry. But loving Harry is like, Harry is, he has many, many sides. And part of it is he's kind of competitive, which I love. And it's fun, it was fun to argue with him. And so one year, Harry has everything, right? I mean, he has everything, he's done everything, he's been everywhere, he has every award. We both got nominated for a Grammy in the same category, which is the liner notes on a thing, and so he invited me to one of the parties. And he said, bring those liner notes along with you. And I said, okay, Harry. And it's like a little booklet, it was a collected Richard Pryor works, right? And so I brought it, and he said, let me see your book. And I said, it's a little pamphlet, paper, And he go, and he took it and he shook it around. He said, this little limp thing. And he took out his. He had a poet had written his, just like he had Langston Hughes write this, right? He had wrote his. It was a book, a hardback book, And Harry said, now how could you compete with this? This is, erect. And I said, Harry, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I did, I won. Harry didn't talk to me for a year. And finally we were all out at a restaurant one night, and we're just sitting there, and Harry wouldn't talk to me at the restaurant either. But finally, at one moment, he turned and he said, by the by, congratulations on your award. And it was really maybe like it was better than getting the Grammy, like just having Harry say that to me, but it was like, the thing I'm telling that story because that's kind of what my way my relationship's been with him, and I just loved it because my notion of an elder is always somebody who says to somebody younger, lead me, right? Ruby Dee was like that. Ossie Davis was like that. And Harry's also like that. He's with you. He's not separated. He's not like above. He's not, you have to show me all this respect. He said, you got to show me what you got,
Yeah.
But respect, no, I don't need that because I know who I am, Yeah. So, I mean, that would be my story, I think.
Actually, I got one more, which is, I stopped by his office, it was Near Columbus Circle, for a few minutes. No. Sit down. It was time to talk, he was ready to talk. And so he started talking about his life, and at one point, I just got emotional. I said, my God, I mean, the accumulation of these stories, I was overwhelmed. And I said, man, you're great, you're great. I just turned me to, And he said, no, I'm not great. Which made me angry, because I was like totally like in this position, and I'm not great. I said, how can you say that to me? Of course you're great. Okay, if you're not great, then who's great? I was furious. He says, Paul Robeson is great. I said, oh. I mean, then it rolled me back, you know? And then he talked about growing up as a teenager and being in prisons of Paul Robeson and W.E.B. Du Bois. At the end of that conversation, I said, you know what, man? What you have done in your life, you're supposed to have done that. You're supposed to. If you rode with them elders, of course you're supposed to do that. And then he dropped it on me. He said, yeah, you're right. And gave me that long look. I said, okay, I know what I got to do, what I got to try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very smart.
There's a question.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Laura. I feel a little silly with these profound stories about the man, but I think it's amazing how transgenerational he is, and that 90 years, obviously, people of all ages are here talking about, like, not only the impact he's had on our lives, but like knowing him personally over 90 years. And my own memories, it feels silly, but watching him on the Muppet Show growing up, singing Turn the World Around, and thinking, oh, now we're in iPod years, now I can carry him on my iPod. And I just think how amazing, right, that you're talking about him with W.E.B. Du Bois, and then we're talking about him, oh, Jim Henson in the 70s, he also touches, and he touches all these people internationally, transculturally, transgenerationally, as a musician, something even as simple as him performing a song. And I just wonder, what your thoughts are on that side of him on top of the other sides.
As a musician?
And teacher of children and missionary and all of these amazing things that he probably does without too much effort on his part that looks so effortless. But, I still watch it every single time and I think, wow.
Well, I think it's like the show. Like, we can go back to that, which is I think the easiest way to do it, because we or at least many of us just saw it, that, I'm so amazed, by, number one, I'm amazed that Langston Hughes wrote that. It's like, he died in 65, so like, really, it was just like right around there, But also just how, like how Harry would like, with his connection is like, and he has Brownie McGee, really one of the major blues people ever, right? So he's going to go, I want it from Down and Dirty and the blues over here to opera, to, and to that choreography was, really, like for that time, it was just amazing. Really, that last piece they were doing, it was just wonderful. But I think that the notion that Harry, as far as his art is concerned, he always wanted to bring everything. It wasn't just, he wasn't a fad, he could do that. He could write We Are the World, right? He could do that and make it work. But on the other hand, it was for other people to see, but it was definitely for us. It was definitely for black people to say, there's a broad range that we cover. And that range, is beyond what anybody has ever told you could do. And I think Harry probably did that better than anybody else because he was so concentrated on it. Yeah.
There was a moment, Donald McKell, fantastic choreography, but there was an improv moment with Nipsey Russell. The camera went down and it showed his foot movement. I said, whoa! Yeah. You guys saw that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that uncut funk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the dialogue in the poker game, that's just the blackness of it.
That was really wonderful.
It really was.
Your sister made 1875.
and to be in touch with the culture that way. Oftentimes when artists begin to present the culture, it gets homogenized and diluted and cut, but not as uncut.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, the question you're asking me, so you can get bought off. Most people get bought off that this is what we need you to do.
Yes.
This is who you're going to be for us. And Harry was never into that, And also he was never exclusive. He was never like, it wasn't like black against white or black against brown or brown against yellow, whatever that shit. He didn't think that, and he doesn't think that.
Right.
And because of it, he's able to bring us together in ways that most people weren't able to. And I think really one of the reasons that Martin Luther King Jr. loved him so much was because he was doing in his everyday life what Martin was doing in politics.
Exactly.
He says, this is the road I want to cross. He said, and you've already crossed that road, so, we need to talk. And the wonderful thing about it is, I don't think Harris ever even realized it. Like, I don't think he even thinks it, because whenever you talk to him, he never says it, and I'm just like, but man, I mean, he's done so much. He was, when the travesty happened in Rwanda, Harry had always believed that black people would never kill each other like they did in Europe. He said it would never happen. And then Rwanda happened.
Yeah.
And he was really upset. So he was talking to me about it one day. He said, well, 18 hours after the ceasefire, I flew down there. So I flew down there on a private plane to see what had happened. But it's Harry, right? So who meets him but like, a Hutu colonel woman, 30 years old, 6 feet tall, unbelievably beautiful. Mr. Belafonte, I'm gonna, take you around. But that's another thing. But it was like, it was all like, all of these, all the bodies, all the dead people, all the things, and he forced himself to walk through it so he would know that it was true. And it's, that's like an amazing thing. I know that I would have died, and because that's, to go through an event like that, to leave your house in New York and to fly to that, that's like insane,
He mentioned to me that he also was there talking to his child soldiers, and like, I don't know, maybe it's different, but same thing, I'm not sure, but that conversation was so chilling that this person is like, pre-teen, pre-adolescent, who had his body count, Yeah, that's the willingness to forfeit all. The Hollywood door was just there, wide open. He said, "No, I'm just down here in struggle." And I think that's probably a moment in which maybe there was a divergence, however brief, between Poitier's choice and his choice. That happens a lot in families,
But one of the interesting things about those choices, I think that, like Harry made a political choice, and I think he would have made it even if it made him suffer.
Yeah.
But the fact is that him making a choice not to be bought out, not to be made part of the production line, actually made his career much bigger and a much longer career. I think that what he did made him an icon.
Yes.
Rather than a product.
Yeah.
I think that I believe it. It's a hard thing because when people try to own you, when people try to put you on the production line, say, well, this is what you do.
That's right.
Then pretty soon you run out of things to say, things to do, and also that people aren't buying that product anymore. They're buying another product, but you lost. You can't move. Whereas Harry always could as a person.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Mike from Real Black. We recently showed World of Flesh and the Devil in Philadelphia. And, again, in addition to creating his own television productions, he also had his own film productions, Angel Levine, and of course the Uptown Saturday Night movies. I'm just wondering, Mr. Mosley, what your feeling of his body of film work in terms of the films he produced were. Walking the Preacher. So.
Well, the Flesh and the Devil is the one I'd love to talk about because I find it so interesting. Here's you have like this post-apocalyptic movie, black woman, a black man, a white woman, and then the white guy who comes and they shot the entire movie, which means to say they shot the script. I'm pretty sure of this. I talked to Harry about it. They shot the entire movie. Now, they've remade that film. It has another name, but they remade it. It came out like 4 years ago.
Yeah. With Chiwetel was in it.
Yeah, Chiwetel. In Harry's version of the film, he's, him and the woman, they're lovers, right? And they shot that. But they cut it out of the movie. They tell Harry, they tell him one day, well, those scenes we shot, you know, they're not going to be in the movie. And Harry's like, what? You know, so that no, that you know, we couldn't do it. You know, like it, you know, it's like we want to make our money back, basically. And you know, and the way, you know, I mean, he was mad about that, of course, you know, but you know, his courage, the power to even make that film, you know, makes it like extraordinary. And then to know that they couldn't make the film Harry wanted to make for another 50 years, right? You know, that's how far ahead he was. You know, I think you know, in his acting, in his performance, in his politics, you know, he just like I'm never gonna go backwards. I'm gonna be as advanced. You know, in his house, I don't know his house now, but in the house then. He has letters from everybody, you know, the letters from W.B. Du Bois, letters from George Washington, and not necessarily to him, but George Washington, Sigmund Freud. I mean, he has all of that stuff, and one of the things about him is that, you know, I am the world. You know, I am, and everybody around me, we're all the world, and we need to know it and celebrate it, and to do the best that we can. And I think that's the thing that you learn from him, more than most political leaders, you know, more than most cultural leaders, certainly more than you know, most, you know, white intellectuals who don't understand that they don't know who they are. You know, at least black people know we don't know who we are. You know, and white people who don't know who they are, but they don't know who they are. You know, and it's like, you know, it's like you have a really an extraordinary like thinker, but he's a thinker on his feet. You know what I mean? Yes. You know, it's like I'm not gonna sit down and just write articles about this shit. You know, he said I'm not gonna just talk about it. I'm going to be it.
There you go.
You know, yeah.
I got to tell you a quick anecdote connected to that kind of profile and courage. The founding chairman of this museum is Herb Schlosser, who was the president of NBC back in the 60s. And I think it was Oscars. There was a moment when I'm blanking her name, but there was a moment when she was on stage with Harry.
Oh yeah.
And she touched his arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
They said, "Oh no." And so it got bumped to the top. And the guy who is our chairman emeritus, they came to his office and said, "We need to cut that scene out." He said, "No." Yeah. So I'm very proud when I joined here, the trustees here at the museum, that this guy had told me that story about him being, you know, standing up. And throughout his career, he did a couple other things. He said Sheldon Leonard came to his office in the 60s and said, "Hey, we got a great new show, but it's a problem." He said, "Well, good, but what? Tell me the good part first." He said, "Oh, yeah, the show is about two tennis players, but they're really secret agents. You know, and they go around the world solving crime." I said, "Yeah, well, that sounds good. What's the problem?" He said, "One of them is black." He said, "What's the problem?" And so he greenlit I Spy. So Herb Schlosser, who, you know, the founding emeritus chairman, he was the guy who, like Belafonte, took a stand, didn't back up.
But you know, there's something really bad happened from that woman touching his arm. I forget. Oh, they canceled the show. Whatever show it was, they canceled the show. And you do understand, because, you know, touching Harry Belafonte's arm is not like touching my arm, you know. You know, they came from backstage, you know, and it's like, yeah, so people were very, very jealous. Yes?
Well, when I was at the BAI concert, he came out and he said, "Welcome to the Fourth Reich," and that was right after the election. So my question is, what does he recommend that we do? I'm serious. I'm very, very serious.
No, and they're laughing, but they're laughing with you in concert with your seriousness.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
That's all. Stay tuned.
You know, listen. I can't answer what Harry would say. You mind if I answer this? I can't answer what Harry would say. Though I think, you know, I mean, we have some things in common. You know, I'm like the only person I know for a long time who wasn't upset. You know, it was really funny. Like, you know, all these people, like, they're so upset. I was at the Sundance Screenwriters Lab, and everybody was crying. I mean, literally crying. Some of them were blubbering. It was like, wow, you know, this is really weird, because I felt bad because I feel so optimistic after this election. You know, because, you know, like, you know, with Trump in office, we have to organize. Like, there's no choice. We have to organize. Like, it's not like, say, well, I'm going to decide to organize, I'm not going to. You have to, because every fucking day he says, like, something else. Like, what's yesterday? I mean, sometimes just the light things. Like, yesterday it's like, all men have to wear ties, and women have to dress like women. I mean, just like, this, even the little things he says are so terrible that people, like, it's like, so there's a kind of a wonderful, there's all this potential. I come up in the 60s, like in 1970 I was 18. I come up in the 60s, and this is the first time since then that I actually see political movement that actually makes a difference. Yes. Some of it's going to be very violent in a while, but even still, we have to accept that, because it's it's a big thing, So I'm sure, because I'm sure Harry would say, I'm going to take advantage of this shit, I said, now with him in there, I have things I can convince. The things I've been saying for the last 20 years, exactly. People are going to agree with me now,
Yes,
yeah.
It makes a revolution
yeah.
to
Yeah.
make us.
You see it when the former Prime Minister of Norway gets going to the prayer breakfast because his passport says he's been to Iran.
Yeah. No, I mean, really, there's no way to stop our organization, and I think that's really wonderful. I mean, people are very frightened, but the other part is that, the West, the thing that Harry does that both the West Coast and the East Coast don't do is he pays attention to the people in the middle of the country. Yeah, he goes down to the South and talks to people. He organizes and works with people. The fact that, that we, the so-called blue states have turned our back on people who have many of the same problems, even if their articulation is off, is a problem. And that's something else that, I mean, I don't know what Harry would say, but I know what Harry has done. I know he took black people to the white part of Appalachia, and like that alone says, well, Harry knows what he's talking about. He's not afraid, Yeah. And he's asking us not to be, always.
Speaking of that, we have an exhibition that's part of the museum, but not physically inside this building. Charlotte Buff has it's a live stream camera, but you go outside around the side of the building, and it's a sign that says, "You want you to walk forward to the camera and say, we will not be divided." Mm-hmm. And since we installed it 2 weeks ago, it's been seen by 5 million people.
Wow!
But also, it's a kind of a magnet for some provocateurs as well. But if you care to, on the way out, around the side of the building, you can just walk up and say, "We will not be divided."
You can send a note to your loved one.
Yeah.
So, who you get the last one? You go ahead now.
All right. So you said that some of the role of Flesh and the Devil was cut because for a long time it was hard to find on video, and it's been released on the DVD from the Warner Archive, where it basically just has the movie. So does the material that's not in the finished cut of the film exist, and was the stuff that is in the film altered?
I don't think it's on. I think it's on the cutting room floor. Like when they cut it, they cut it. They weren't saying, "Well, we're going to save it for later, when in the future," because they didn't imagine a future. So I don't think so. I don't think so. When I talked to Harry about it, he certainly didn't mention that. Well, the information's still there, so it can come out in the DVD. So I don't think so. I think it's gone.
Yeah, I think today we have a notion that in this era of having DVD extras and missing scenes, that's like 1950. So that's way back.
What was that movie that Melvin Van Peebles did with Godfrey Cambridge?
Oh, Watermelon Man.
Watermelon Man.
Yeah.
When they did Watermelon Man, the end of Watermelon Man was he's supposed to turn, because he's a white guy who turns black. Mm-hmm. And the people who made the movie said, well, at the end he has to turn white again, because it has to have a happy ending. Right. And Melvin said, that's a good idea. I like when he stays black. I said, but I tell you what, I'm going to shoot both of them.
That's right.
Then at the end, you can make up your mind which one we're going to do. And so then he shot the one where he's black. He didn't shoot the one where he turns back white. And they said, well, where's the other one? He said, shit, I forgot to shoot it. I guess we'll have to go with him, Terry. It was so funny. But I think that's the opposite. I think they just cut it out. And they didn't tell Harry till after it was gone. They didn't tell him. They said, no, that's gone, man. Yeah, that's not happening. There's a hand.
Oh, yep.
I just wanted to say I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Belafonte some years ago through American Legacy magazine at Macy's. They did, I guess it's a collection of music for him. It was released about Black history, and I'm trying to remember the anthology. I do have it at home in a case, and I don't see it as much around. So I was just wondering if you know of it. It's a good collection. So I have a picture with him because my best friend was working for the magazine. And when the photographer said, go take a picture with Mr. Belafonte, I said, I'm not staff. And Mr. Belafonte said, you don't want to take a picture with me? And I was so happy to have taken the picture with him. So he is really great, and I actually saw him at NYU with Hugh Massey Keller.
Yeah, I was there for that as well.
Yeah, and then I saw him, but from afar, at Hugh Massey Keller's 75th birthday at Jazz at Lincoln Center.
Yeah, Master Killer, of course, says the same thing you said. He was there to moderate. It was just winking like, okay, here's the first question.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that goes. You know, he brought Hugh to America from South Africa, and he made he made him work. You always talk about it. He made me work so hard. He was like transcribing folk music, and he just had him working transcribing folk music, and but at the same time, he was able to follow his own dreams.
Hugh told me the story of the first when he arrived, because his connection to Belafonte was Miriam Makeba. And so she said, this guy, this trumpet guy, he's really great. You bring him in. So he came. And so the day he arrived in New York, it was a 10-hour flight? I mean, it's really far and really tired. He said, it's happening. You can't go to sleep. Let's go. And so she drug him. And so she said, such is playing. And with some superstar playing. And then he said, well, somebody else is playing. I mean, I think his first 24 hours, the first 10 hours in New York, he met Miles Davis, Mingus, Coltrane. I mean, everybody, because he knew everybody, and they knew everybody, and it's all. So he says, I was then tired. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here because I wanted to join in celebrating him as an artist. I had the opportunity to sing background vocals with him.
Okay.
And just to touch on him being a competitor.
Yeah. Okay. It's gonna be good. You're smiling big, so it's gonna be good.
No. It's just really short. He said, do you play chess? And I said, no, I'm a card player. I love cards.
Okay.
I'm bid with some other. And I said, do you play cards? I said, do you play chess? I said, no. He said, well, you need to learn how to play chess. So we sit down, we're on the tour bus, and he teaches me how to play chess. And so we play, and then finally I said, okay, I got it. I think. I beat him. He did not speak to me for like 2 days at all. And I couldn't understand. I would try and talk, but he would not. He would walk away. Like he was seriously mad. Just wanted to share that. Walter, I wanted to ask you a question. What motivates you when you write? As in your writing, what sparks you to write when you?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, really, honestly, I mean, it's a question I get asked a lot. Like, what, I didn't start writing until I was 35, and I started writing. I said, wow, this is fun. This is like a lot of fun. I'm really having a good time. It's kind of like asking somebody. They've been. They sit there and they start. People start talking, and they might talk about all the kind of sex they had, and after a while you say, well, what motivates you? it's kind of a stump of a question. You know? I don't know. It's lots of fun, and you know, and I can keep on doing it. So I do. Well, me, I'm a Capricorn. Yeah.
One of the things powerful about what you do, right, is I recognize the characters. I mean, they're people that are authentic and resonate in that way. Clearly, you observe the world and draw. Are there elements in Belafonte that you would tap and create a character around? Not the elements, not the whole package, just an element. Something would animate a character you're playing with.
Well, you know, I really, it's a good, you know, for a long time, Harry and Danny Glover wanted me to write a play for them. But it was really like for them. Like it would be them in the play. I mean, they would have different names, but the fiction wouldn't be far away from the person. And I couldn't do it. I mean, it was amazing. I was thinking about it. And I'm still thinking about it. One day I'm going to do it, you know, but probably Harry's going to say, no, my play days are over. But, not my playing days, but my play days are over. And it's like, but it's hard because, you know, he's such a unique character. He's so much out of the norm, you know. He's a part of all of us, you know. Like we'll see, like, you know, just the piece that we saw. But it's kind of, it's so amazing that I can't, like, you know, like draw from it somebody else, you know, because of who and what he is, you know, just everything about him, his perceptions, his understanding of people, his everything, you know, from his intellect to his sexuality. It's like it's impossible. You know, the thing that he said to me about, he saw a picture of him and Brando, and he showed me this picture. And he said, "Look at that, man." He said, "Look at Brando. That's a beautiful man." You know, I remember Harry was standing right there next to him. I'm thinking, man, Harry's a beautiful man too. But it was a notion, and it's just, you know, and his inability to, I think his inability to understand his impact on Martin Luther King because of how much he loved him, you know, but at the same time still maintaining that power. He never gave up anything. It's a hard character. It'd be a hard character to write. I mean, you know, I'm glad you mentioned it. I have to start thinking about it again, because he's something else. He's truly like a world hero, and there's not many people like that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you all for coming. And we're going to take a break, but at 3:30 we're going to show Kansas City. Matter of fact, can I ask you to indulge? Could you give us, let people cue Kansas City, what they're about to see?
Oh, you know, it's been so long since I've seen Kansas City. I'm not even going to try. You know, all I know is that it's Harry's favorite film, and he plays a gangster, and he's cool.
So that's the reason to say right. So
and it's Altman, right? It's Altman.
Robert Altman.
It's Altman. So, like, you know, it has to be great.
All right.